A global namaste to you all. Welcome to yet another enlightening session from the Hindu Academy team. My name is Nishit Kotak. I'm here to welcome you today. It is Saturday, the 3rd of June. We are halfway through the year already. And it's a gorgeous day here in the UK, especially here in London. And so for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, welcome to the Hindu Academy broadcast. A quick rundown on how it works. We run for about 1 hour between 2 and 3. And the focus of this session is usually around anything to do with Hinduism. We usually start with the focus topic. Today's topic is living with the knowledge that we are God. So a significant part of Hinduism or Hindu philosophy, it talks about the divine residing in each one of us. And so today we'll be delving deeper into the understanding of what this truly means and how it impacts the way we live our lives. So we have our resident panel of experts, Sitaben, Vijay and Manishbhai here to guide us with the conversation and answer any queries from you, the viewers. So we begin our session by watching a brief video, which will offer insights into this topic for today. And thereafter, we'll have a focus topic discussion. Let's get started with the focus topic video, and we'll catch up very shortly thereafter.
Now you see, when you say you are essential the spirit, the spark of the divine, this is the conclusion of Hindu religion. What you are searching for is your essential nature. Sometimes people say, Jay, look, so far we have played ball with you and you are a lovely chap and all that, with colorful clothes and all that, but this is blasphemy, Jay. This is blasphemy. You can't equate us. This is too much. Let me do a story. I used it many a times and it's very powerful. I can't get a better story. A young boy came to the Hinduism class. Boys are the best cheeky chaps to investigate religion. Came to the Hinduism class. He was told, my boy, like it or not, believe it or not, you are the spirit. You are that what you are searching for in the heaven. It is your essential nature, my boy. The little chap was taken aback. He said, I should have joined these classes much earlier. I thought I'm just a goody-goody. He's telling me I'm God. Things are improving for me dramatically here. He went in an arrogant mood. He said, good stuff here. Went home, went to the kitchen, but the Hindu mommy is cooking as usual. Opened the cupboard, took out the most expensive piece of crockery reserved for the special visitor. Waved it in front of his mommy. He said, Mommy, watch. And deliberately dropped it. The plate fell to the floor, broke into 1,000 pieces. The mommy, Hindu mommy, normally brown in color, turned pink. Then she turned red. Then she lifted her arm and came near the boy. And the boy, in his arrogant mood, pulled his hand out of his pocket. Stop, mommy, stop. Mommy, said the boy, do you know who I am? Mommy was like, this cheeky fellow comes, breaks place, like, who am I? She said, who are you? Mommy, said the boy, like it or not, believe it or not, I am God. Now, fortunately, Mommy had been to the Hinduism class too. She said, my boy, my second question to you is, who am I? The boy had learned these lines well. He said, Mommy, like it or not, believe it or not, you too are God. Mommy said, we are making progress. You are baby God, I am mommy God. There's a third lesson in Hinduism that you not attended, which says that whenever baby God goes around the house breaking plates deliberately, mommy God has to do a worship ceremony of the baby God. And the boy is getting worried. He says, what worship? Mommy says, she has to bring the baby God near, turn him round, and smack his bottom. And she mustn't leave a mark, otherwise social service God will come. You see, I use this story in so many places, I can't find a better one, so I'm repeating it. But it's a very powerful story. It is telling us that it's not an arrogant comment to say, I am the spirit. It's not arrogance. In fact, it's the most ego-destroying comment you can ever pass. Because that's not that you are special. Everything you look at is special. Everywhere is special. And the terms of engagement still stay. Mommy will smack the little chap if he misbehaves gently. But the terms of engagement stay, and yet you spiritualize everybody. So it's not an arrogant comment. It's not an ego-centered. In fact, it's the most ego-destroying comment. Because now I'm no longer here. I'm reflected everywhere. Do you know how powerful this idea is? This forms the foundation of ethics and morality. It says this. It says, do you know why you don't hurt somebody? Because essentially the same thing that's percolating through these eyes is percolating through those eyes. Spirit is always singular. The same thing is shining out here, shining out there. So if I hurt him, I'm actually hurting myself. And suppose you lift somebody up, don't even call it charity. It's a demeaning comment. You help yourself. What's the big deal? You see, you will find this, whenever you find a philanthropic person, if you tell him, why are you doing it? It's because you want to get your picture in the newspaper. He says, no, I can't help myself. I just feel like doing it. This is the sign of genuine charity, genuine, if you like, philanthropy idea. You see yourself reflected. You have no choice. When you see a problem in front of your eyes, you must do something about it. You just can't help yourself.
Yes. So thank you all for joining us to watch that insightful video. It certainly provides a thought-provoking introduction to our topic of the day, living with the knowledge that we are God. So embracing the idea that we each hold a spark of the divine within us is an extraordinary and transformative concept. And this divine consciousness can influence the way we perceive ourselves and others, and indeed the entire world. So today, we've got our panel of experts here, Sitaben, Vijay, Manish Bhai. Welcome to today's call. And viewers, we encourage you to share your own thoughts and perspectives in the chat area on whatever platform you're watching us live on. You may be catching us on our YouTube channel, our Twitter page, or on Facebook at facebook.com/IndoAcademy. After all, it is through dialogue and discourse that we truly learn and grow. So let's explore this fantastic topic for the day. And I'll just ask maybe our panel of experts. Sitaben, starting with you. What does the phrase living with the knowledge we are God mean to you personally?
So I think it's a real sort of depth and insight and gives real sort of meaning and purpose to our lives, because, you know, if we look within the sort of the framework of logic and reason will tell us that, look, we are just accidents of evolution. We are just a lucky coincidence of atoms, and that's what our life is made of. There's nothing more to us. But when we look beyond that circle of logic and reason, anything that in our life which involves going out of that circle of logic and reason is the things which can't be answered through those kind of questions. So, you know, we have to step out of this sort of circle or this framework of logic and reason to help us understand the meaning and purpose of life. Otherwise, if we stay within that framework, life is very meaningless, it's purposeless, there's no ethics, there's no morality, because if we are just a lucky coincidence of atoms, then why should I give a damn about anyone or anything apart from myself? Why should I not go out and hurt as many people as I can if it's for my own personal benefit? If when we die, we are just going to disintegrate into nothingness, why shouldn't each man just be for themselves? So this really gives a tremendous meaning and purpose to life, and a real sort of spiritual basis to our life, to understand that there is some spiritual meaning, some depth to our existence beyond this sort of material framework. And as Dad said, you know, it's not a proud or arrogant comment to say that we are divine or we are the spark of God, because the whole living kingdom is elevated to this level of divinity. So we are not sort of saying, I am better than you or you are better than me. As Dad said so clearly in the video, the framework of operation remains the same. You know, mommy God and baby God, we all stay the same, but everyone is elevated, everyone is dignified, so much more than just being, you know, material beings. We are spiritual beings, and it makes life so much more meaningful and purposeful to have that sort of spiritual underpinning to the way that we think. Vijay,
yeah, it's a very powerful concept, Nishit Bhai. I agree. I mean, I agree with Sita fully. I think the thing is this. I mean, when you ask these very fundamental questions, is Sita mentioned. Why am I self-aware? Who am I? I mean, if you just with the realms of the physical world, it doesn't mean much. I mean, of course, if we just said that we are made of, natural elements, so is a lot of, insentient matter. It's also made of natural elements. Yet in this form, it's self-aware. So you can either say that, okay, maybe I'm some because somebody created me, to think like that. But the thing is this, that, in one sense, all Indic faiths, they don't dispute the idea of divinity. The only question, the level of degree. Some would go all this, look, we are actually God. Some would say we are highly divine. Nevertheless, divinity is naturally inbuilt. The question is, you can either say, look, I'm created by somebody and I have to worship him and, benevolent, whatever, super God or whatever. And then I have to give him all these good qualities. But if you look at that idea very carefully, all you are doing, as we've mentioned quite a few times, is that is extrapolating good ideas and making them, make somebody higher and worshiping him. That's all well and good. But the thing is, at a deeper level, people will think that actually, is that the true definition of God? Somebody sitting on a throne? Or should we change the fundamental definition of a God in the form of a principle which transcends the idea of, human limitations, whether it's super God or, super person. So the idea of God, the whole definition of God changes when you see the idea of God as divinity. So it's not somebody who is like, bound by rules or bound by, in the sense that bound by all these qualities. God transcends all this. The question is this, the quick question, what are we? I mean, that's the key question here. And what do you find from a lot of deep kind of intuition, deep, meditation, and all these great riches? They've actually found that actually deep inside, we are the spark itself. We're not worshiping a spark, we are the spark. And when you find that, actually, in many ways, it may sound a bit strange initially, because, why is this lump of body? How can it be a spark of how can it be God itself? But if you think very carefully, look at all the other alternatives. Oh, you are, tiny mouse, you do worship a super God. All the others kind of, they don't meet that, there's always some sort of lacking. If you say, look, we're all divine, we're all conscious, there's something more to us. If something more to us, surely we all have it, not just one of us, because we all have the same kind of principle underpinning us. And that's why, when we say God is Asti Bhati Priya, we don't say God is a person, we say God is existence, bliss, and consciousness, right? That's what we're all about. So the whole idea of the way you see the idea of this God, so-called God, I mean, of course, for us, the Atman and Brahman are not really humanized, actually principles. When you start thinking that kind of angle, then you say, okay, actually there's more to us. So I think this is something that the Indic, ancient Indic, our ancestors have worked out very early on. There's something more to us than just somebody, some simple person who just worships somebody. There's something far more greater, dramatic into us. And we have a lot of good examples of great, rishis, old and new. I mean, like, Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, they've actually experienced that, and if you look at the story of Ramakrishna Paramahansa and Vivekananda, the day Vivekananda actually, he was a very big skeptic, as you know, but the day when Ramakrishna just touched his toe, you can imagine how much in a daze, how confused Swami Vivekananda must have been that time. He doesn't know what hit him. So the thing is, we are that amazing thing. The key thing is, can we discover it for ourselves? Manish, bhai?
Very powerful, yes, and I agree with you, Vijay Bhai, Sita Ben. Very, very powerful, and I think humbling experience. I mean, for me, it means we cannot lose. We are that divine, and we part and parcel of that divine that is pervading the whole universe. And even when we look at the idea of Big Bang and how, from singularity, everything comes into being, we are still part of that. And compare that to a creator God and somebody who creates you, then you have nothing in your hand. You are at mercy of that creator God. And if you, by any chance, make him angry, God help you. But in this, idea, we are given that power. I think it's such powerful idea, because we our true nature of the, as Vijay Bhai said, asti bhati priya, of the existence, consciousness and blissful, and we can tap into that. Okay, it may take us time to get there and get that feeling, but we have that belief, or we have that, I think it's within us. We know that we can tap into that, we can have that experience, and that is our kind of inheritance to claim. So it's just a wonderful idea. We can never lose. Okay, it's a long journey and we may get there and it may take time, but you cannot lose. So it's a wonderful idea, and so is everyone else. It's not like biased towards anyone or anything. It's everything is divine. It's wonderful.
Superb. So that is a fantastic introduction to the topic. And I like that concept that we are part of, the divine consciousness, spirit, being, whatever you want to say it is, and not separate from that. So that's a really good, interesting outlook to it. But how does this belief help shape the way we should live our lives? Like if I said, once you figure out that, the same thing that is in me is the same thing in the person across you, how does that help shape your life? Sitaben?
Yeah, I mean, as Dad said so beautifully in the video, it's the basis of all ethics and morality, and all of these ideas of ethics and morality ultimately hang on this idea of being unselfish. Because if we stay within that framework of reason and logic, everything tells us to be selfish, like the selfish gene of Richard Dawkins. It's just all about me, and how to preserve myself and my future generations. But when we look beyond that circle, that's when we see this beautiful sort of unfolding of understanding the world in a much deeper way. The reason why that we should be unselfish is because we are all drops in this infinite ocean of spirit. We are all different sort of links in the same chain. So it's the most natural thing to do, to care for others, to have this sort of unselfish attitude to our whole existence. And in a way, by sort of living and breathing that principle, thinking about it in every action that we do, we're kind of in a way rubbing away the sense of ego, this sense of this is me and I am doing this and look how important I am, everybody look at me. If we are all like looking after each other, then there is no ego to boast about. There is nothing to be proud or arrogant about, because it's the same spirit. We are all part of that same ocean of infinite spirit. So what is there to show off to? Who is there to show off to? We are all one. We are all the same person. And I think, unfortunately, things like social media, they've obviously got their benefits, but they can, in a way, sort of and dismantle people, because people are sort of drawn towards, showing the best of their lives and, trying to get as many likes as possible. And it's all kind of making us focus on me, look at me, everybody. Whereas actually, hopefully we can find ways in the future where, we can dispel this idea of look at me, and try and sort of use these kind of tools that we have for a much better purpose, rather than sort of focusing on me and look what I've achieved. Because in a way, we are harming people around us, because we are presenting this image of ourselves, which is so perfect and so sort of distanced from reality, that it can actually bring other people down. So in a way, hopefully in the future, we can figure out new ways of using social media that doesn't sort of cause this sort of dysfunction in our lives. Vijay, finish?
Yeah, I mean, Sita, I actually agree. It's very true. I mean, I think one thing is, Nishit Bhai, the thing is this, that, quite often when you have this idea that divinity is everywhere, your kind of mindset or your frame of thought changes. Usually what happens, if you look at in this world, this is a big problem. I mean, even though you don't admit it, is when people say, I believe in a God, my God is better than your God, automatically you start seeing people as lesser. It's just natural, right? But when you take that out of the equation and say, look, actually we're all divine, yeah? That the whole thought, in a way, I agree with Jay, but in a way, the idea of ethics and morality, that's the best route you can ever have. The starting point is that we are divine, and so is everything else divine. And by actually serving it, you're actually serving yourself. That automatically makes the huge change in how you think about morality and idea of morality and ethics. Because quite often morality and ethics is judged, in a very nasty framework. Or so and so is, I don't know, adulterer, so and so is a sinner, so and so is that. All that disappears because you start seeing a person from a different angle. So in many ways, this idea of when you say God is divine everywhere, that is, I think, a very, very powerful kind of foundation for ethics and morality. This is my personal view. Manish bhai?
Yes, it's a wonderful thing. And, when I look into my life and think about the moment, I really, really felt really, happy and joyful. And I try to find those moments. What I discover is those moments were when I was trying to help somebody, when I was trying to do something without, that selfish motive. And that's what I've discovered. And that's what Jaybai is saying, that when we be selfless and do something, that is when we really connect. And that is when, this experience of this Atman, Brahman, that's when we can tap into that infinite divine spirit. So for me, it's a way to connect and tap into that powerful being within us all.
Fabulous. So just a quick welcome to all our viewers who are joining us online. I can see a great number of you over online on YouTube, Facebook, etc. Welcome. If you are just joining us, the focus topic for today is God within us, or are we one with God? And so moving on to the next question, are there any scriptures or teachings that support this concept that we are one with God? Sitaben?
Yes, right from the ancient scriptures, right to modern scriptures as well, because as we've said I think in a previous broadcast, even the ancient Mahavakyas, they focus on this idea of us being identified as spirit. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, thou art that, I am Brahman. All of these wonderful sayings. I think it's wonderful that we've kind of encapsulated such a broad idea into these very sort of small aphorisms, which are easy to sort of capture and remember in our everyday life. So even right from ancient scriptures all the way to modern personalities like Swami Vivekananda, we see the same message presented. And what's so beautiful is that these ideas are truly Sanatan, which means they are truly eternal and universal, because throughout the history of humanity, look how much the world and the universe has changed. That teaching is still so incredibly relevant. So I think it's a beautiful thing that we can carry that message forward in a way that sort of fulfills the needs of the current society, because ancient Sanskrit is not necessarily an accessible language for the vast majority of people today. So that's why we've got modern personalities like Swami Vivekananda who can help us to understand in English through wonderful sort of analogies and explanations this beautiful teaching that we are all essentially divine and we are all spirit. And it's not blasphemy. I mean, last week we were talking about this sort of interfaith sort of issue, and somebody said to me, oh, it's blasphemy. How can you say that, you are spirit and you are God? But as we have said so clearly, every living thing is elevated to this level of the divine. So we're not changing the mode of engagement with anybody else. We're just elevating everyone and everything to the level of spirit. And actually what you find is when you are in that state of super awareness, super consciousness, that is truly when the world becomes beautiful for you. Because up until then, you're using your intellect and your thinking, and you're like, stressed about thinking about logic and reason. And it's also not there when you are living at the level of instinct, when you're hunting for food and shelter. We can't see the beauty of the world. It's only when we are in that beautiful state of awareness, of super consciousness, that we think, wow, I am not attached to anything in this world. I just view it as an ever-changing panorama of beauty and sublimity. So that's the state that we would all aspire to live in, because in that state, we are no longer sort of attached to anyone or anything. We just accept the nature of this universe as being ever-changing, and we just see the beauty of it when we are in that state. So hopefully we can all get there someday. Vijay Bhai, Manish Bhai.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Sita. I think Nishit, actually it's everywhere you see the idea of divinity, because as Sita mentioned in the Upanishads, yes, you see that's true. Also the living examples of great rishis or great, modern proponents of Hinduism, even there you can see the idea of us being divine and being God. It's not unusual. Also in the normal, the way we see things also, you'd be surprised. As Sita mentioned, the idea of blasphemy is quite interesting that in the Indic faith, it's quite normal for us to compare somebody higher. And I can say Manish Bhai is like a king. It's okay to say that. I can't say it's like, like a duffer or something. That would not be nice. But comparing with something high is very normal. We say this king is like a god, right? Why do we do that? Because every Indic thought understands that we are divine and something more to us in this body. So it's quite common to give people names of God. In some faiths, actually, it's illegal to call somebody, since blasphemy, name somebody after, call him God, even as a name, is seen as blasphemy. Whereas in the Indic faith, it's opposite. So it's not just that we know that's great, it's actually normal behavior of things we do, the way we compare things with higher beings, it's kind of the norm in all these Indic traditions. So it's out there actually. We believe this and we actually practice, and even our lifestyle kind of in some ways reflects that idea. Manish Bhai?
Yes, Vijay Bhai, I agree with you there. Just want to quote Bhagavad Gita, and there is a whole chapter about this Virat Swarup. And Krishna even says that in all living beings, I am the Atman. So there you go. What more do we need? What else do we need? It is there in, as Sita Ben Vijay Bhai said, Ramana Maharshi saying, discover who am I truly? Have that self-inquiry, and it is there to discover.
Fabulous. So, folks, this is a really interesting topic, and I am seeing a lot of the questions which are coming in through the online channels. Keep them coming. We will answer them shortly as we finish this focus topic. The next question is, now, does the concept of we are one with God mean that we are all powerful and omnipotent? If not, how should we interpret this? Vijay Bhai?
I think when you start talking in words like all powerful, omnipotent, in some ways you're starting on the wrong kind of step, because you see these are all qualities linked to the kind of material existence. I'm powerful. The key thing is this, that when you transcend this idea of so-called Maya, transcend this material existence, you become the ultimate blissful as bliss, or become a supreme existence. You become supreme consciousness. And that is the goal. So in many ways, if you want to, it's true that when you're on the process of achieving this self-realization, you may come a time when you can have incredible powers, which is something that Patanjali talks about. But this is not your goal. Your goal is actually to find your realize the true nature. So I think we have to be careful when we say that I'm the Atman, I'm all powerful, I'm omnipotent. These are all good qualities, no doubt. But ultimately, those qualities are bound by desh and kar, space and time. You have to transcend those and say, I'm the supreme spirit. That's why we say it's a principle. The principle is not bound by this human quality extrapolated. That's the key thing to keep in mind. That's all I can say on this at the moment. Sita?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, I think it's amazing because, when we kind of, sometimes all of us get moments of sort of inspiration, where suddenly we have this very sort of lucid moment and things suddenly seem to make sense. And it's a wonderful space to be in. And when we try and sort of recreate that moment, to recreate that experience, we're never able to just, reframe it and have the same experience again. The only way that we can have that sort of wonderful transcendent experience is through disciplined endeavors like Raj Yoga, for example, where you have a lot of physical and mental disciplines so that you can actually have a structured way of getting there rather than just stumbling upon this inspiration. So I think it's incredible that, you know, within this system of Hindu philosophy, we've got a structured approach saying, look, if you really want to not just stumble across this moment of inspiration, if you want to actually live and breathe in that state of super awareness and super consciousness here, give this a go. And it can take months, years, lifetimes to get there. But when you are in that state, everything seems blissful, everything seems beautiful. And actually the kind of things that you come up with are so incredible. And when they sort of fit, you know, you come back into the normal frame of mind, everything that you sort of come across seems to fit so beautifully within the framework of logic and reason. And that's why, you know, we've got these scientists who stumble across some discovery. We've got Einstein who uses all of these thought experiments, and what he comes out with is something so incredible, and it still fits within the framework of formulas and rationality and reason and logic. So it's incredible, the power of inspiration and intuition, and it fits so beautifully within the framework of logic and reason. But the funny thing is, you can't use logic and reason to get to that point. In a way, the rationality is like a stepping stone to help us enter this realm of inspiration. So hopefully we can all try and reach that state one day. Manish Bhai?
Very well put, Seethaben. So I think when we think about ourselves as all powerful, it all depends on who we think we are. If we feel like we are this body-mind complex, then obviously we're not going to feel that I'm all powerful, I'm all, you know, knowledgeable, omnipotent, and all that. It's as Seethaben said, it's when we discover our true nature and the process, we get all this intuition and we discover all these wonderful things. That is the process of unfolding, and it's when we have that experience, only then we can say, okay. And it's not a physical power that you're going to throw thunderbolt at somebody. It's the experience of being connected with everyone else. That is what matters, I think.
Brilliant. So as we carry on with this topic, the next question is this: how practical is it to live with the belief that we are divine in our everyday lives, especially when one is grappling with negative emotions or stress? If we are divine, why should we be stressed? Why should we have negative emotions?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where you know, exercises such as breathing and meditation can really help to deal with our stress. And even though it could be a very sort of simple exercise of just spending 2 minutes every morning and evening, just having that space to sort of contemplate, to breathe, it can really give us a tremendous sort of opportunity to reflect and understand that, you know, even though our lives can be very messy and complicated and we don't feel like we're the spirit at all, and it feels like a complete contradiction in terms, having this sort of couple of minutes a day can help us to sort of refocus and understand that actually who we think we are is not who we actually are. Because we are so much more than the body and mind. We keep thinking that we are the body and the mind. We get so caught up and identified with it. But having a moment to sort of distance ourselves from our own sort of, you know, mind, just watch it like a film and say that this is not me, and your mind will not like it. It will throw tantrums and it will just be very, very unhappy at it. But the more we practice regularly, the more we can sort of keep our mind under control, and the mind will then become our servant rather than us being the servant of our mind. And it's in that moment of clarity that we realize that we are so much more than we think we are. We are not this messy body and mind. We are so much more than that. And having those moments of reflection can help us deal with any sort of stresses that life throws at us. So I think, you know, whatever we're doing, it's wonderful to have that little couple of minutes or however much time we can spare to reflect on ourselves in this way. Vijay,
I think absolutely true, Sita. All I can add, Nishit Bhai, is that actually, in many ways, it helps you if you understand, if you have this idea that I'm more than the body, I'm divine and I'm God. In many ways, helps you to overcome the stress and the other issues we face, emotional issues. Because hold on, I'm facing this, but you know what? I'm far bigger than this body. Much like I should think I should think in a higher plane. So these are all mundane stuff. I really shouldn't put too much emphasis on that. Because quite often the stress we have is because we put so much emphasis on things. If you look way deep, we shouldn't have in the first place put so much emphasis on it. That can be the issue, right? So quite often people get stressed because I don't know, they can't get a bigger home, or they can't get a better car, or they're having problem relationships, whatever. And you feel, but it's hold on a minute, I'm more than just a material body. I'm far more deeper. Then I think in many ways actually helps you rather than makes things worse. It helps you to tackle all these issues at a so-called physical plane of existence. Manish bhai.
Agree with you, Vijay bhai. It's, I think when we are down, I think what Sita Ben was saying, contemplating, if we, we are listening all this and it sounds all fantastic, but given next minute, we're going to forget about it, go back to our original life and all the stresses of the life, and will be same old me again, and all these problems trying to overpower me. How can I, tap into that spirit? So I think it is important that we contemplate or meditate on this idea, idea of Atman and what is the nature, Asti Bhati Priya. They say Soham, I am that. But what does that mean? We need to contemplate on that. And frequently doing that, I think regularly, we could have that, elevate ourselves and get rid of all these negative emotions, sort of step away from things and look at things in bigger perspective and overcome all the challenges we come across, I think.
Super. So what would you say is the relationship between the individual consciousness and the divine consciousness, and how does it affect our views on life, death, and things like maybe reincarnation? Vijay bhai?
Okay, that's quite a big question. It's a nice small sentence. But of course, the relationship between us and the divine is something that all the acharyas of India, all the great people have debated, and they've written large volumes of books on it, right? On what is relationship. I mean, you have, from the Advait all the way to Dvait traditions and how related. But the key thing is that it's everywhere. It's in all the Indic scriptures, we see these ideas that how to relate ourselves to the divine. So I think even in the case, in day-to-day existence, sometimes it's difficult to think of self as God, in which case people, of course, have the idea of Sagun Brahman, a deity you worship, which is fine as well, because it makes you focus, more spiritual. And sometimes you will transcend that as well. So there are many ways to link yourself with the divine. So of course, it's not that easy when you start off, but at some point you realize that connection. And then, as I mentioned last time, the question is, the all divine is a question of degree of how much we are, from all the way to a super, devotee, all the way to, God itself. And that's the key idea. So there's a lot of scope on expanding on from every stage of life, every human, on where they want to move next. There are all these different ideas. Sita?
Yeah, I completely agree. So, some people, they like to refer to God with form. Some people like to see themselves as a spark of God, just like a little flame in a big fire. Or sometimes people just go the whole hog and say, you know what, I am that blissful, infinite, divine spirit. So it depends on your temperament, but ultimately, all of us are converging on the same center. We are all going to the same destination, because where can we go? We are all that one spirit. So where else can we go? We may kind of take a meandering path, or very, very different pathways. Different religions have different pathways as well. And they sound very contradictory and very different from each other. But all of these religious enterprises, spiritual enterprises, are all about expanding the telescope of our awareness so that we can get a deeper understanding of reality. And the thing is, when we do get that deeper understanding, we all are sort of colored by, you know, our own temperament, our own culture, our own language. So that's why you get differences in, you know, the expression of that sort of spiritual experience. But they are all that spiritual experience. It's just my lens is pink colored and your lens is blue colored or whatever. We are all trying to reach that same spiritual underpinning. It's just our lenses are slightly different because we all have very sort of different starting points. So I think the real point of all of our sort of spiritual endeavors is to converge in the center and not fight over it, because we are all going in the same direction anyway. Manish bhai?
Thank you, Sitaben. I think thinking about the divine consciousness and consciousness, or my consciousness or human consciousness, how are the two interrelated? If we think about where is my thought coming from, try to investigate it. It's very hard to find where am I getting all these thoughts from, and how are we all agreeing that something is what it is? A table is table and chair is chair. So as Jay Bhai said, the idea of Mahad, there is a universal mind that we all tap into. So is there any, you know, separation from individual consciousness and divine consciousness? I don't think so. It is all one divine consciousness that we tap into.
Brilliant. So we're having a really lively discussion today. I am going to come around to the questions very shortly. I will ask one or two more questions. Manish bhai, how can a modern Hindu explain this concept to somebody who is not familiar with Hindu philosophy?
I think that modern Hindu will need to come to Hinduism class and watch a lot of Jay Bhai's videos, I think, to start off with. Because I think, okay, sometimes even when we are discussing, we feel we have the good idea what all this is about. Unless we have that experience, how can we teach others? So the first thing is to have that experience, try to, you know, gather that idea. Forget about teaching others. Let us first experience, let's try to, you know, understand this or have that experience. I don't think, you know, we should be going out teaching others without, we can talk about it. And, yeah, I think it's so hard to do. Sitaben?
I understand what you're saying. So Vijay bhai, the next question for you is this. Is there a difference between intellectually knowing we are God and actually experiencing?
Oh, there's a big difference between the two, actually, because intellectually, you can think of all these thoughts, which is a good thing. It's a tool that you need to achieve, actually experience it. When you experience it, intellectual does not count, actually. So intellectual is good in so far as to make deep analysis of who you are. But that is still not the answer. The answer is that you actually have to experience for yourself. So you must, there's a big difference. The thing is, you must experience for yourself. Yeah.
Sitaben, next question for you. We are looking at diversity of beliefs. Within Hinduism itself, there is a huge range of philosophical interpretations, right? How does this concept align with that diversity of different viewpoints of how Hinduism is interpreted by many different people?
Yes, so basically, just like what we were saying, is that because our starting points are all very different, our languages are different, our cultures are different, our own temperaments are all different. That's just the nature of humanity. That's the nature of how we are. So even though we are all touching base with that same spiritual experience, it in a way gets colored by our own sort of personality and temperament and culture and limitations. So this is why, for example, one person can experience the spirit as, seeing light. One person can experience it as seeing an angel. One person can see it as experiencing a god or goddess. So that's why the experience is, it presents itself in a different way, but it's the same spiritual underpinning. And the reason that we know that they all lead to the same destination, because on paper you could say, yes, they all look very nice and they all lead to the same destination, but how do we know for sure? And this is where the personality of Sri Ramakrishna really comes in and is so incredibly relevant to the world today in our globalized world, because it's not just not lovely poetry, just say we all going to the same place. He actually did experience through not just within the variety of different pathways within Hinduism, but across Christianity and Islam as well. So he was able to really bridge the gap between all of these different religious worldviews and say, look, here, I can verify it for you. Look, they all do lead to the same destination. And as we've discussed already, we have to sort of experience it for ourselves. That's the real litmus test. Because it's one thing, for example, to read about all the different countries in the world and look at various pictures, but that doesn't mean you've actually been to all of those countries. You have to actually go to those countries. You have to experience it for yourself. You can't just, become a surgeon by reading about all the books about becoming a surgeon. That doesn't make you a surgeon at all. You have to actually experience it, become a surgeon, practice it yourself. Then only you can call yourself a surgeon. So that's the real only true way that we can actually find out if they all lead to the same way, is go out and try it yourself. If you want to challenge it, go and experience it for yourself and prove it to all of us.
Super. No swimmer ever learned how to swim by reading a book. So let's get on to the viewers' questions. So we have a question from Masonic Traveler. The question is, how are we God? Vijay bhai?
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, if you think about all the different options we have, we believe in a super God, we believe in spirits, gods, spirits, whatever gods. People have all kinds of strange beliefs. But the ultimate question is this, what are we? Why are we self-aware? What is there something special about us? And that is from all the information that we have through history, through all the scriptures, through personal experience of great rishis, even modern proponents of Hinduism. You get this feeling that actually, most likely, there's something special to us. And that principle that drives us is divine, and that is what we can so-called God, in quotes, basically. So in that sense, I think we have a lot of evidence that actually we are divine and we are perhaps God. But of course, as I just mentioned, we have to experience it for ourselves.
Super. The next question, Sita Ben, is from one of our regular viewers, Ali. Ali is asking, she would love to know more about what God is from the perspective of Advaita Vedanta.
Yes, so God, according to Advaita Vedanta, is not all of these colourful images of gods and goddesses, which is what usually Hinduism is associated with. It's actually the divine percolating through everyone and everything. So, everything in this entire universe is just a manifestation of this beautiful spirit. And, it reminds me of some of the kind of spiritual experiences of individuals who have found God in this particular way. They find everything to be sweet. They find everything to be beautiful because they've transcended, our framework of logic and reason and the body and the mind, and they actually see the universe for what it is. So that's a really beautiful state to be in, and hopefully we can all try and get there.
Superb. Manish bhai, here's one for you. So Masonic Traveler is asking, how would we take advantage of this knowledge and put it into practice? So the knowledge or the concept that we are one with God.
Yes, a very interesting question. And yes, I think it is a very powerful concept, and it can give us, all this strength that we are that, and it can help us achieve whatever we want to achieve, because all we need to do is tap into that ultimate, divine potential we have. So I think it's about meditating on it and then try to figure out how I can express. Everyone is different, so the way they express their spirituality, divinity is different. But it's I think a self-question of how can I use this knowledge? What do I do to make this experience more powerful, more empowering, more connecting me with other people? And we can find ways of connecting with others, and even the whole environment, connecting with the environment, trees, plants, living beings, animals. And it can really empower us to feel, live a very fulfilling life. As Swami Vivekananda said, only those who live for others. So I think that is one way of progressing toward this goal.
Wonderful. Sita Ben, So this divine spark that resides in me is buried somewhere so deep I can't find it. So the question is, what practice can we engage in to connect with this divine spark within, or to find that divine spark within us?
Yes, so
Meditation and some other things. Are there any specific things? This is a question from, again, Masonic Travel.
yes, no, there are so many different ways, as we know, but actually there are a lot of unconventional ways as well, because obviously you've got all the different world religions, you've got all the pathways within Hinduism, for example, but it doesn't have to be restricted to a religious point of view. You can love music, you can love art, you can love science, you can love all of these endeavors, because actually, as Dad has said many times in his videos, any disciplined human endeavor can lead us to that sort of transcendent experience, because that transcendent experience is that point where you kind of forget about yourself, you forget your own ego, you forget your own self, and you get absorbed in that moment. And you know, it happens even, for example, when you're so absorbed in a book and you know you're just reading and reading, and then 3 hours have gone by and you don't even realize where the time has flown. And you come out of that experience not feeling tired or exhausted, you come out feeling energized and recharged. So I think it's a wonderful place that we can actually find that experience in so many different human endeavors. The wonderful thing is, like, for example, with music, you know, like in the beginning when you're learning an instrument or something, when you're sort of playing, you're kind of thinking and rationalizing it and logic, and I must put my finger on this key and this key and this string and all of that. But the more you practice, the more that sort of falls into the background, and the more you're able to actually feel that moment of inspiration. You can create the most beautiful music without having to focus on the thinking about it, the logic and the reason. So I think it's wonderful when we can get to that point.
Well, we had a really lovely comment from one of our regular viewers again, is Sherry Jubilee, saying that knowing that I am a bit of the divine brought me joy and peace. And seeing it in others brought me the ability to love everyone unconditionally. That's a really nice thought to have. And Olim Cattle, another one of our regular viewers, says that in one of my deep meditations, I have had the feeling that all is equally ancient. And this seems to point that all being God, if all is the same life or energy source, you know. We have another question here. It says, why do you believe it takes people so many lifetimes to realize that they are God and they must sacrifice their ego to reach one with God? That's a really interesting question.
I think it's the reincarnation experience and reincarnation knowledge that we've gathered, and what we see is, as per the Hindu idea, is actually we start off with we may be starting off with a single sentient being and evolving and experiencing all these different animal forms, and then come into human form. We still have those animal traits and all the baggages that come with it. So it's to unfold that baggage and really discover who we truly are. It takes a long time, and unless something is, I think, some divine intervention happen, it is not a fast process, I feel.
Superb. Fantastic. So, well, I'm going to bring this session to an end very shortly. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Today's engaging session explored the concept of living with the knowledge we are God. So our wonderful panel of experts here and the global audience actually embarked on a deep exploration of philosophy and its relevance and practicality in today's modern world. So we looked into questions of ego, divinity, moral responsibility, nature of suffering, considering that individual perspectives and wider society's implications and various other things. So the interaction obviously with the viewers online who have been sharing their thoughts, their comments, and their questions has helped move this discussion a little bit more forward, making it a little bit more well-rounded And for that, I'm very, very happy. So despite the depth and the complexity of this topic, one thing remains clear. The concept holds a central point or a central place within the Hindu understanding of life and our place in the universe, illuminating the path of spiritual growth and transformation. So with this, do you have any final thoughts, Sitaben, Manishbhai, Vijaybhai? Parting words for the viewers.
All I can say is that I think going back to the point Sita raised, all the great philosophers, all the great rishis of India agree one thing, that the Atma and Brahman are in many ways one. Like the 4 Mahavakyas Sita mentioned, basically the entire 4 Rig Vedas can be summarized in just one phrase, as Sita mentioned. The I am Atma Brahma, Pragnanam Brahma, Tattvamasi, and there's one other one. It's coming to mind now, yes. So these ones we have, Pragnanam Brahma, last one, yeah. So all these we have just summarized. So it's not something that is new we're making up. It's been experienced by so many great rishis of India. So this is something that we should keep in mind. The divinity within us is not something that's make believe. It's actually been experienced and kind of felt by a lot of great people.
Super. So folks, please stay tuned for our next session, which will be on next week, Saturday at 2 o'clock. As always, we appreciate all the support that we get from you. During the week, you can tune into our YouTube channel, where we do release regular new videos through the course of the week. I had a look at our bank of videos. We're now over 4,400 videos. So that's more than triple the amount of videos since I started. So it's always something new and interesting coming up. So go ahead, visit our YouTube channel, hit the bell notification, get notified every time we upload a new piece of content. So I'd like to end with a quote from Swami Vivekananda. The quote is, "You are the soul, free and eternal, ever free, ever blessed. Have faith enough and you will be free in a minute." And this is a quote that beautifully emphasizes the central theme of our discussion today, recognizing and embracing our own divinity. So with that, I'm going to say, I wish you all a great week ahead. Bye for now. And thank you to our team here for doing a fantastic job. See you all, everybody.